Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the first ever electronic video conferencing meeting in Algonquin Highlands. And before I call the meeting to order, I would just like to say, excuse me, a quick thank you to Mike March, County IT Director, for getting us all set up. People think that web meetings and Zoom meetings are a flick of a button, and they're not. So thank you to staff, our own staff as well. So I'll call the meeting to order, and first we'll go for a roll call.
Algonquin Highlands.
So the clerk will call the names.
Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Present.
Councillor Barry.
Present.
Councillor Dayu.
Present.
Councillor Shorty.
Present.
Mayor Moffat.
I am present. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Okay. Being none, we have one item on our agenda today. That is the amendments to the procedural bylaw to accommodate emergency meeting provisions. You all have a copy of that, and I'll ask the clerk to take us through the highlights of those changes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before Council has proposed amendments to our procedural bylaw. They are highlighted within the bylaw. These procedures are to allow for electronic meetings during declared emergencies and the requirements within, and also to permit the creation of an emergency government committee during emergencies as well.
Okay, thank you for that. There are a number of items in the proposed changes. Concern was raised about, or clarification sought on sections 31 and 32 around delegations. Of course, delegations are meant to provide the public an opportunity to engage with council. The proposed draft suggests that delegations and electronic meetings would be done by way of a submission received in advance, and if we don't allow the public to participate in some way, then that actually defeats the purpose of a delegation. So there is some additional wording that has been crafted that would solve the problem. It was Deputy Mayor Danielson who brought that to my attention. A little bit of confusion. So I would suggest the clerk has worked on some different language. That would be somewhat in the form of that requests for delegations during an emergency shall be assessed on a case-by-case basis and either approved or rescheduled, because of course we don't want to deny people access, and that priority would be given to emergency-related or township-initiated business, and that any delegations would participate via teleconference. So if anybody wants to have any comments or talk about that, if that satisfies, I think it does the Deputy Mayor's concerns in that regard, to make sure that we stay transparent with the public to allow delegations. What we want to avoid, of course, is if everybody's up to their eyeballs in emergency provisions, that delegations should be limited to things that are of immediate pertinence to the business that's happening, and at the same time not denying people, but saying that if somebody wants to talk to council about something that's not related, it would be delayed or deferred. Any thoughts on that? Deputy Mayor Danielson.
I just wanted to thank you for consideration of those changes. I'm pleased with the proposed wording.
Okay, any thoughts from any other members of council? Okay, and the second one actually was a modification that I had suggested, which is in section number 38 around the creation of the governance committee. I did ask the clerk if she would consider language that just turned it around a little bit to make it a little easier to understand. And I'm proposing that it say under section 38, in the event that quorum cannot be achieved, the remaining members of council shall be considered an emergency governance committee with delegated responsibility, et cetera, and then the rest of that. Then the rest of that paragraph would carry on. And that just provides a little more clarity for exactly what that governance committee is meant to be. And really putting that in there. It's not mandatory that this piece be in this bylaw, but it's only an emergency and it's a bit of a fail safe. So it provides an opportunity. We've learned a lot during this pandemic, and that language and that provision allows for council business, if it's necessary, to continue. Even if there's only 2 members of council, they would become what's known a governance committee. In a pandemic like this, when we've all been trying our best to stay home and not get sick, you realize the fragility of our setup. So if we keep the section in and just turn that language around, it's a little clearer to understand, I think, for anybody reading the document. Any thoughts from council on that? It doesn't change the intent or anything. It just reworks the words to be a little easier, more easily understood. Any thoughts on that? Okay. Is there anything else in the highlighted section for these emergency provisions that members of council want to clarify or discuss, modify? No, that's good. Okay. We have a couple of resolutions, and one of them is to accept the report. So we'll have that resolution now. Can I have a mover and a seconder by show of hand? Moved by Lisa Berry, seconded by Jennifer Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Berry, seconded by Councillor Dayu. Be it resolved, Council will receive the report CO 820, amendments to procedural bylaw emergency meeting provisions submitted by Don Newhook, dated April 20th, 2020, and that council directs the revised bylaw to govern the proceedings of council be brought forward for consideration. Deputy Mayor Danielson, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Berry, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Dayu, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shortreed, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mayor Moffat, yes or no?
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you for that. And the second resolution is for the bylaw itself. Oh, yeah. We're new at this. Can I have a mover from the screen and a seconder from the screen? Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, seconded by Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that bylaw 2045, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of council, be read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed. Councillor Berry, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Dayu, yes or no?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Danielson, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shortreed, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mayor Moffat, yes or no?
Yes.
Carried.
Well, that actually concludes today's meeting. Before we go to the confirmatory bylaw, just a reminder for those out there in TV land that we are getting back to scheduled 21st is our next meeting. So we will have some more fulsome and consumable items on the agenda then. So the confirmatory bylaw, could I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Dayu and Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Dayu, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson, be resolved that bylaw 2020-46, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during the electronic special council meeting on May 14th, 2020, be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed. Councillor Dayu, yes or no?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Danielson, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Berry, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shortreed, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mayor Moffat, yes or no?
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. And could I have a mover and a seconder for adjournment? Councillor Shortreed and Councillor Berry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Berry, be it resolved that the electronic May 14th, 2020 special meeting council hereby adjourns at 9:12 a.m.
minutes.
Deputy Mayor Danton, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Dayu, yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Shortreed, yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Berry, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mayor Moffat, yes or no?
Yes.
That's carried.
Great, thank you for that. So that concludes our extremely efficient and very short first meeting, and we will see all your smiling faces again on the 21st.